Alexis Vincent of Purdue, a sophomore, the first diver here on platform.
All of these women will do 5 dives, 5 different dives from 5 different groups. There are actually 6 groups of dives on the platform because it includes the arm stand group, which isn't included on the springboards. So there's a front group, a back group, a reverse group, an inward group, a twisting group, and then an arm stand group. So they perform 5 of 6 of those groups.
Lexi Tenenbaum of Minnesota, 4th on the 3-meter springboard earlier in the competition.
Lexi Tenenbaum has scored in every single event. She has been such a standout. She's a senior at Minnesota, and in my opinion, she should be considered for diver of the meet because no other diver has scored in every event and being in 2 finals.
Abigail Napton, freshman for Nebraska.
Abigail Napton from Nebraska does not have a platform to practice off of in Nebraska. They travel 4 hours to Iowa to practice. This is amazing, and they go once a week.
She'll have a couple of her dives off 7-meter, one off the 5-meter. Now Callie Head, a junior for Iowa, her 3rd time diving on platform at the NCAAs. 40th 2 years ago as a sophomore, 31st last year.
Callie Head has such a beautiful stretch and toe point. She came off the 7.5-meter platform. The divers may choose one of 3 levels to do their dives from the 5-meter, the 7.5, or the 10-meter. And that has to do in part because all schools do not have platforms. So there's a little leeway in which platform you may go off of. You do not have to go off the high platform or the 10-meter in every single dive.
Now Rebecca Cannell of Florida International.
Now I told you that Iowa doesn't have a platform. Florida International doesn't have a pool. They have to rent pool space. These divers work so hard to get to these levels, and they sacrifice so much. So you have to appreciate and respect everything about these divers that make it to the NCAAs and these that are in the finals, the top 8.
Emily Meany of Purdue, a freshman, one of 2 Boilermakers in this final, going with the arm stand on her first dive.
What a controlled diver she is. And that arm stand isn't a dive that every diver will necessarily use, but if you have a gymnastic background, which many of the platform divers do, then you might opt to use an arm stand because the judges start judging the minute your feet leave the platform to go up into the arm stand. That was beautiful.
Second highest scoring dive of the first 5, 58.8. In fact, 72, pardon me, for Emily Meany. That is the highest scoring dive so far. This is Jessica Parado of Indiana.
Just won this competition 2 years ago, set out last year to train for the Olympic Games. Successfully, I should say, made it to the Olympic Games. And this is her forward 3.5. Great flexibility, leaves the dive deficient somewhat, short of vertical. And you're going to see a range of scores. There was 1 5.5 in there, and I think that somewhere between the 5.5 and 7.5 might have been the best score because it was not quite vertical on the entry.
Olivia Rosendahl of Northwestern. She was the top qualifier on 3-meter, finished 8th. the top qualifier on platform, her first dive.
Okay, so I'm going to continue this train of thought. There is no indoor 10-meter platform anywhere in Chicago. And
it's amazing.
It is amazing. They travel to Wisconsin a couple of hours down the road in order to practice platform diving. Once again, unbelievable what these divers are doing.
52.8 for Olivia Rosendahl. Second round coming up. We'll turn it over to the public address announcer, Sam Kendrick.
Awards, 4.5, 6.5, 5.5, 6, 5.5, 5, 6. Lexi, 407C, 3.2 from the 10. Awards, 3.5, 3.5, 4, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 4. Abigail, 205C, 2.8 from the Southern. Awards, 9, 8.5, 9, 8.5, 8, 8, 7.5. Callie, 305C, 2.8 from the 10. Awards, 6.5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 6, 5.5, 6.5. Rebecca, 305C, 2.8 from the 10. Awards, 7.5, 7, 7, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 7.5. Emily, 107B, 3.0 from the 10. Awards, 7.5, 8, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, 8. Jessica, 407C, 3.2 from the 10. Awards, 5.5, 5.5, 6.5, 6, 6, 6, 7. Olivia, 6243D, 3.2 from the 10. Awards, 8.5, 9, 9, 8.5, 8.5, 8, 8.5. Beginning round 3, Alexis, 205C, 2.8 from the 7. Awards, 7, 6.5, 7.5, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 6. Lexi, 205B, 2.9 from the 10. Awards, 3.5, 5, 4, 4.5, 4, 3.5, 4.5. Abigail, 305C, 2.8 from the 10. Awards, 8, 7.5, 8.5, 8, 8, 8.5, 8. Kelly, 205B, 2.9 from the 10. Awards, 7.5, 8, 8, 7, 7.5, 7.5, 7. Rebecca, 205B, 2.9 from the 10. Awards, 8, 8.5, 9, 7.5, 7, 7.5, 8.5. Emily, 205B, 2.9 from the 10. Awards 4, 3.5, 4, 4, 4, 4.
U.S. Olympian Jessica Parado of Indiana with her third round dive, highest degree of difficulty in the competition, 3.6. Cynthia, what makes this so tough?
Well, you just said it, the degree of difficulty, the highest by 3/10 in this competition, 3.6, and it's a new dive for Jessica. Look, did she need it to win the NCAAs? Possibly not, but she's looking forward, along with her coach, Drew Johansson, to 2020. Oh, and she has a good start on the dive. This is not a great dive, but it's not a bad miss. And the start is the most important thing. Getting into that pike position right away without waiting, this is real close to being terrific. And that's what you want right now. She only started doing it in January. Not going to yield a ton of points right now, but that's okay.
Scores range from 5 to 6. Dive score 55.8.
Award 7, 7, 7, 7, 7.5, 6.5, 7.
What do we need to do on this?
And the standings through 3 dives with 2 remaining. Abigail Knapton, the freshman for Nebraska, has the lead, but Olivia Rosendahl of Northwestern creeping up on her. She was tied for 6th after the first dive, then 3rd, then 2nd. Here is Abigail Knapton.
Unbelievable that she does not have a 10-meter platform at her school to train off of, and they drive 4 hours to get to a 10-meter to train about once a week, maybe twice if it's a great week.
She's on the 7-meter, and she's leading the NCAA championships with 2 dives left.
she slides past vertical just slightly on that dive, it's got a lot of potential for an inward 3.5 on the 10 meter. And that's what she might eventually want to do. But driving to Iowa to train these dives is just amazing. And leading, that's a bit of a miss, and that's her first miss.
Total 44.55.
Callis, 24B, 2.8 from the 10.
And now Rebecca Cannell of Florida International. Last year was 38th on platform as a sophomore, her only previous board at the NCAA.
Well, I'm in shock. They don't even have a pool. They rent a pool at Florida International. I was talking to Rio Ramirez, her coach, who was an outstanding champion at Miami. Was explaining to me that they have to rent pool time. No pool at Florida International. And here she is competing off the 10 meter in third place before this forward 3.5 somersault, a very gymnastic vault off the end of the platform. And that is a very respectable dive. Feet and legs just a little bit apart. That's why we're not seeing a whole lot more 8s and above.
And despite not having a pool, she moves 0.05 ahead of Abigail Napton of Nebraska. Emily Meany of Purdue in 5th place with 2 dives remaining. Just a freshman.
And it's anybody's contest. Emily Meany doing an inward 3.5 somersault, coached by Adam Soldati, coach of David Bodaya, Olympic champion. Oh, and she just doesn't use her visual acuity very well. Not seeing the water, I would assume, in front of her in order to be able to go in the water vertically. She ducks her head right there and goes more on her back, splashing underneath the platform. Pretty big miss for the freshman from Purdue.
And now Jessica Parado, deferred last year to train for the Olympics. She made the U.S. Olympic team. She was the champion 2 years ago as a freshman.
And she put in a new, really high degree of difficulty dive in this list in round 3. This is round 4 of 5. She could go right into first place after not having performed stellar thus far. But if she has 7.5s on this arm stand back triple somersault, the judges started judging when her feet left the platform. Perfect control right there. Yes, I think she will receive enough 7.5s. She had a little arch before she went in the water, but if she doesn't, this contest is going to be close no matter what. And you can look at the arch right there before she goes in the water. That's the only reason why she won't receive those 7.5s or above across the board.
She's in 3rd right now after the 67.65. And one more diver here in round 4, Olivia Rosendahl, the Northwestern sophomore, in 2nd place through 3 rounds.
Olivia is the top qualifier, so she gets to go last in the competition. Some people consider that somewhat of an advantage when it comes down to the final couple of dives. Divers that like to know where they are in a contest know exactly what they need to do on their final dive in order to possibly win. That's a pretty dive, a back 2.5 somersault, very pretty. She has great control, and it looks like she uses her visual references well. Seeing the water, I'm seeing a little bit of splash, but she is leading the contest.
60.9 for the first time she leads, and there's one round of dives remaining here on platform. Four rounds down, one round to go. Olivia Rosendahl was the top qualifier on 3-meter, but finished 8th, the top qualifier on platform, and she leads with 1 round to go. She will dive last. Rebecca Cannell of Florida International 2nd, Abigail Napton of Nebraska 3rd. Abigail Napton of Nebraska has slipped from 1st to 3rd. She is just .05 behind Rebecca Cannell, who stands in 2nd right now.
Abigail's final dive is an arm stand off of the 5-meter platform, the lower platform, which is about 16 feet off the surface of the water. And I've said prior that you don't have to do all your dives off the 10-meter.
Sometimes can be tougher off the lower one.
Yes, it can. It can carry higher degree of difficulty a lot of times because you've got less space to complete some of these somersaults, although this is not a real high degree of difficulty at 2.6. We're going to see 3.2 degree of difficulty from other women in the final round, and they have a little bit of an advantage because of that.
49.4 for Abigail Napton. Rebecca Cannell of Florida International in 2nd place heading into her final dive.
And she is doing the same dive that Jessica Parado is doing at 3.2 degree of difficulty. This is the highest degree of difficulty dive being performed in the final round. And Jessica Parado, being in 4th place right now, needs a little help. She's got points to make up. Certainly Olivia Rosendahl, the leader at this point, would have to miss slightly, possibly for someone else to overtake her. And this is a nice looking dive. Again, no pool to train off of. And here is Rebecca Cannell doing a back 2.5 with 1.5 twist. No pool, they rent pool space. What a performance from this young woman.
54.4 and a total of 302.35. She's in the lead right now with Parado and Rosendahl to follow. Now Parado, her final dive in 4th place through 4 rounds.
In order to go into first right now, before Olivia Rosendahl, the leader dives, Jess needs 6.5. That is not a big task on this, her final dive, which is normally one of her best dives. And just to give you an example, she scored 7.5 and didn't do it as well as she can in the preliminaries. So 6.5 should not be a huge task for her. She will receive, she'll go into first place right now. So she will be either first or second, but it's going to all depend on the leader from the prelims, Olivia Rosendahl. Olivia Rosendahl has less degree of difficulty, but she has an 18-plus point lead over Jess Parado going into this final round.
70.4 with the scores ranging from 6.5 to 7.5. Olivia Rosendahl, the final diver, trying to dive atop the podium here on platform as a sophomore at NCAA.
And no 10-meter to train off of. They travel to Wisconsin to train.
Amazing.
She needs 6.5 to be an NCAA champion. And there's your champion, Olivia Rosendahl, the sophomore from Northwestern, doing a beautiful, gorgeous, technically so well performed in the final round. She's going to score big points on this, even though it was less degree of difficulty than many of the divers in the final round. Look at this entry. How pretty is that? Vertical, barely a little bit of splash.
She comes through in the clutch, a 72.8. Look at that, she scored a couple of 9s, 335.3, Olivia Rosendahl. Without a pool to train in, they have to travel from Chicago to Wisconsin, and she is an NCAA champion on platform.
You're awesome. You too. I told you. NCAA cheers. You're a beautiful rover and my favorite human ever. Wait. Good job. Good job. You done so well. You too.
Congrats, you finally made it.
Sorry. You're so
Olivia. What most people may not know is Northwestern doesn't even have a 10 meter. How do you prepare for an event like this?
Well, we travel once a week to practice 10 meter, and yeah.
That's incredible. And you are the first national champion diver for Northwestern. How do you handle the pressure going into that final round when you've got the lead like that?
I was really stressed out, but everyone's such beautiful and talented people and divers that it's just amazing to be out there with everyone.
When you're stressed like that, what does your coach tell you?
Sing and rip.
What do you sing?
Anything.
Well, congratulations. It seemed to work.
Thank you so much.
Well, she can sing "We Are the Champions" now because she stands atop the podium on platform 335.3. Jessica Parado, the champion from a couple of years ago, finishes second. Rebecca Cannell of Florida International, remember they have to rent pool space themselves, she finishes third.